Hello, Seiiti Arata. So you've been preparing for a very difficult exam for a long time. In addition to having complex content that will require very sharp reasoning ability, the test requires you to absorb a very large volume of information. So this is different from those exams for which you can simply memorize a couple of ideas, write everything in a hurry, and immediately forget it all the minute after the exam. So this is a special video for those of you who will face a big exam that will take weeks, months, or maybe years of preparation. The techniques for you to prepare are very different from simply memorizing a couple of ideas a few minutes before a simple test. You need to organize yourself. You must learn how to organize yourself, learn how to study, and learn how to perform tests. Each of these skills is very different from the others. Organize, study, perform test. Maybe you have great energy and enthusiasm right now that you're studying for this test, and that's great. Just do not forget to keep balancing your life. This is the part of being organized. Don't put other aspects of your life too much aside, because everything has a consequence, and one dimension of your life that is not properly cared for will cause problems further ahead. Organizing is knowing how to create a long-term plan. You will need to study and review for a long time, since the subject matter is very dense. You will know if you manage to achieve the ideal organizational level, if you can keep your pace for several weeks or several months. Only then you will reap results. You need to understand what is important in your life. So, schedule your activities according to the importance of each one. If you are sleeping over the books, it is a sign of lack of organization. You need to take care of your physical integrity and have nights of normal sleep. Only then can you perform well in your study sessions. We have seen this in the Productivity Ninja course. And if you don't already know, this is the advanced course of productivity by Arata Academy. You can visit the link arata.se/time management to learn more about organization. Learn how to study. Be aware that there are two phases. There is the phase of understanding the information, and then comes the information retention phase. For example, when you're reading an interesting book, you say that you understand the story very well. Then I ask you to tell me more about the book that you're reading, and you just don't know how to tell the story. In this case, you understood the story, there was understanding, but there was no retention. You just cannot retell the story to someone else. The study of any subject is the same. First you need to understand, and then you need to retain. The brain learns through smart repetitions, and this is the process by which we fix what we understand in our minds. This is the revision. And in our learning course, How to Learn Faster, we have specific lessons on revision techniques, and you can see more at the link arata.se/how to learn. In the review phase, you should train your ability to retrieve the learned content. There are several ways to do this. You can look for multiple choice questions and understand what's the right option, but not only that, you must also understand why the other choices are wrong. When you read a long book, it is essential that you can understand what is most important and what is the probability of certain information being included in a certain examination. And here is a tip that I want you to write down. When you study, understand that no information is isolated from each other. Knowledge is constructed by blocks and connections. So whenever you study something new, it is necessary to draw bridges, to understand the connection between the different pieces of information. That this is how you can assimilate information. To understand geometry, it's necessary to understand some basic arithmetic concepts, and to understand literature, you need to understand history and to know what was going on at a certain time. If you can't solve certain equations in chemistry balancing without math skills. You see, if you're having difficulty in one subject, probably there are many other previous issues, many prerequisites that you have forgotten or never really learned. Without review, there is no assimilation, and therefore there is no learning. The good news is that the review process requires less immersion than in the understanding phase. This means that even if you have just a few minutes in the morning before going to work, or in the middle of your lunch break, or before going to bed, you can be efficient and do some smart reviews. In the course How to Learn Faster, I give you exercises that will allow you to practice your ability, your skills to review. Learn how to sit for exams. If I tell you that I have a problem because I have a headache, and I further tell you that I just drank half a bottle of whiskey last night, well, my problem is not the headache. The problem was drinking half a bottle of whiskey last night. If you're thinking that you're having trouble taking tests, and you say that you forgot something because, you were nervous, or you misunderstood a particular tricky question, well, this is not a problem about doing exams. The problem was before. It's about your lack of organization, lack of correct study, lack of proper review, lack of preparation. The person who is too concerned about the outcome will become anxious. There are some people thinking that they are delaying the happiness of that beautiful day when they will pass the big exam. This is a mistake. They are viewing the whole process of getting to their final destination as some type of inconvenience that they would like to avoid, so they are unwilling or unable to devote time to study and to practice. This way, they will never have the discipline to get to their final destination because learning will not happen. That said, there are a few techniques to learn how to prepare for the test. Again, you'll need organization. You need to know how much total time you have for your exam, how many questions are there so you can distribute your time properly. You can look for examples of exams from previous years. You can pay a lot of attention to the scope of the exam, the test, and then you can be prepared for the kinds of questions that will appear and so many other ideas. Unfortunately, the exam will not be assessing your expertise, your full knowledge. The exam is just measuring your ability to respond to very specific, predefined questions. Maybe fair, maybe unfair, but see, this is the reality. And during preparation, to have a good grade, you want to focus your study on the themes that will be asked on the exam. The exam is a bureaucratic procedure. You need to find efficient ways to address this bureaucracy. In addition to studying the subject matter, you also need to devote time to devising your strategy and understanding what are the likely questions. You want to learn how to present your answer in such a way as to receive the highest possible grade from the examiners. You do not fail when you make mistakes. You fail when you give up. Do not doubt your ability and know that even if there are other contestants studying more hours than you, it does not mean that they are studying efficiently. You can make better use of your time with deliberate practice. If you study fewer hours but more efficiently, you can overcome those who put in more time but they're managing it very poorly. Go ahead. Do not be discouraged. There are many learning techniques. Some proven to be good, others a little bit questionable. And in the courses at Arata Academy, I always identify the best techniques for you. And in our course, How to Learn Faster, we have a thoughtful selection of the techniques that bring the very best result. And we put it all together in a fast course that you can complete in one single day right now. You can visit arata.se/how to learn.